So I get to start off with a bit of a special announcement. I just had a paper published today. It's on the physics of consciousness. If we had 2 or 3 hours, I'd present on this, but I'm going to be discussing quantum biology. So quantum biology has really come to the fore as a legitimate field of scientific investigation, despite the many decades of physicists saying that there is no possibility for these special quantum states to exist in the biological system. The kind of example that's always given is that the biological system is too wet, too warm, and too noisy. So these kind of fragile quantum states can't exist in the cellular system. But I did my work starting off as a scientist in molecular biology. And then by the time I was doing graduate work, I started applying quantum mechanics to the study of molecular biology. And to me, and this was before many of the discoveries verifying quantum mechanics in quantum biology had been made, but it was fairly evident to me that when looking at the molecular biology of the biological system, it was uniquely adept at utilizing these non-trivial, kind of phenomenal quantum states that are described in quantum mechanics, these kind of non-classical quantum mechanical states, things that you don't normally see at the macro scale, although there are more and more experiments that are showing it occurs at the macro scale too. But so, there's a whole lot of different examples of where quantum biology, quantum mechanics has been shown to be active and vital within the biological system. But, I would like to discuss each one, but really what I'm interested in is showing kind of the larger implication of this. What does it mean to have these kind of non-trivial, phenomenal quantum states operating in the biological system? And so an idea I want to explore with you is these kind of secret implications, these kind of hidden mechanisms that I believe these quantum states are allowing for the biological system to couple to or have that connection and exchange of information with the field, the universal field. This is the quantum mechanics of unified physics. So the quantum mechanics of unified physics is not the Copenhagen interpretation. The Copenhagen interpretation, what is most commonly discussed when talking about quantum mechanics, you have this quantum weirdness, and that's it. You don't explain where or why it comes from. You just have this, the quantum regime is just weird. You have this quantum weirdness. In unified physics, it's not unexplained like that. There's reasons why you see things like entanglement, quantum tunneling, retrocausal signaling. And that is because quantum mechanics, the properties of particles and molecules, is the result of underlying space-time dynamics. It is the underlying multiply connected space-time geometry that gives rise to these non-local effects that you see in quantum mechanics. So the quantum regime in the biological system acts as this interface between that multiply connected space-time geometry. Nassim, in the opening talk for this retreat, was referring to it as the ether from Will Check's talk. In our paper together, we describe it as the universal space memory field because it's this holographic information nexus, an entanglement nexus. And so these quantum states Each example is interesting in and of itself, but on the whole, what it's an examination of them shows you not only how the biological system is just a sustained, patterned excitation of the field, but you can see, you can delineate scientifically how that connection is occurring, how we are indeed field-like, because we're made of these quantum particles, which aren't really particles at all, right? They're excitations of a field, a quantum field. They're wave functions that stretch through all space and time. That's what we're made of. We stretch through all space and time. And so by looking at them, you can see, you can delineate, you can describe how information goes from that holographic information nexus. Marshall calls it the sonoluminescent hollow field. I like that. How the information goes from that field to the macro scale of the biological system, and also how information goes from you, your body, your mind, back into this universal field, the field, the space memory. So what are some of these non-trivial quantum mechanical phenomena? I'll go through a couple examples. As I said, I'd love to talk on each one, but there's magnetoreception, enzyme kinematics. This is particularly important because electron tunneling and entanglement in enzyme kinematics enables the functionality of enzymes. And enzymes are what runs every biochemical reaction in the body. So these non-trivial quantum states like quantum tunneling, which is an instantaneous transfer of energy across any potential barrier, it is vital for the functionality of enzymes. They don't work without this quantum tunneling. So we wouldn't be here without this quantum tunneling. And it's also a prime area where quanta, particles representing information in our body, are going into the space memory field so that they can instantaneously translocate to another location. So it's one of those prime areas of information transmission between the space memory field and the macro scale of ourselves. One of the first areas where quantum mechanical phenomena, non-trivial quantum mechanical phenomena, was described was in the energy systems of the cell. So this is the heart of the cell, of the biological organism, is the energy production centers. This is what you started off with. Before this, you couldn't have a cell. This is namely the chloroplasts and photosynthesizing organisms and mitochondria and every organism except bacteria that utilize the energy. So in chloroplasts, you have the chlorophyll, which are these multi-component complex molecules, and all throughout them they have these electromagnetic antennae. They receive photons. When the plant or photosynthesizing organism, photosynthetic bacteria, algae, when it receives that light, it wants to make sure that that high energy from that photon is transmitted to the photoreaction center so that it can make glucose and other biomolecules. If that high energy electron that's created by that photon is lost in transit to the photoreaction center, the plant doesn't get to use it. And what you see though is that there is a 100% efficient transmission of that energy to the photoreaction center. And this is done via quantum resonance, via that exciton tunneling to the photoreaction center, so that there is zero loss of energy in this system. So one other place where you'll see 100% efficiency of transmission of energy and electricity is in a superconductor, which we artificially generate, and that requires extremely low temperatures, right? extremely low temperatures. This is occurring at physiological temperature. So this is allowing the superconduction of energy at room temperature, something that many scientists will tell you isn't possible, and other scientists are striving to create. And so while that's remarkable in and of itself, the point though is that the biological system is obviously representing a unique state of matter that's unlike anything we can replicate in the lab, that is allowing for this kind of phenomenal utilization of quantum mechanics to achieve 100% energy utilization. And that's a key aspect of what I want to explore, is this kind of unique state of matter that represents the biological system. And not just that quantum mechanics is, you have these special locations where it happens to occur, but rather that the biological system is uniquely engineered naturally to capitalize on its connection with the underlying space memory field to do these really remarkable things to maintain this complex, far from equilibrium system that has amazing organizational synergy and massive parallel information processing. It's done because the biomolecules that represent the biological system are unlike any other form of matter. So the electron tunneling is also occurring in the mitochondria, which there's thousands of those in every cell in your body. And this is a prime region where entanglement is being generated in you right now, which is helping to bring forward the expression of consciousness in the biological system, and also giving you receptivity with the field. There's cognition, and so that was the paper I just published, was on quantum physics involved in consciousness and cognition. Entanglement, they've actually recently entangled entire organisms, photosynthetic bacteria. This is a far step from, is a quantum state possible in the biological system? They entangled entire cells. And so, that's a many-bodied system that is in a quantum coherent state. It's fairly remarkable. Yeah, so they used a optical cavity they call a nanophotonic structure to entangle these bacteria. And actually, one of the next things that these researchers are wanting to do is to entangle multicellular organisms like the tardigrade Neofauna. Quantum resonance is hugely important in the biological system, especially in terms of cognition, information processing, signal and information transfer. So this is the green fluorescent protein. It was originally derived from bioluminescent jellyfish. It's a fluorescent biomolecule, so it absorbs UV light and it emits green photons. And so I've worked a lot with this in the lab because it's a reporter molecule. It allows you to see in the cell. It allows you to see the molecules in the cell because with quantum resonance, you can get it to emit light. One of the things that was recently done was this GFP protein was isolated. So this is in an in vitro system, and researchers were able to use it to create entangled photons. Now, it's not an easy task to create entangled photons, but what they found is with this protein, they were able to sustain this quantum coherent state so that it's actually because of the unique arrangement of this biomolecule, it's able to shield the entanglement producing center from decoherence with the environment. So it's this uniquely shaped molecule with these unique properties that actually allow prolonged quantum coherence and entanglement. And so this, of course, has all kinds of potential applications in technology, but what it's pointing to is that there is within us these biomolecules that are uniquely adept at creating these quantum coherent states, prolonging them, and allowing for our greater connection with that holographic information of the space memory field. And so one of the things that I've been investigating, and this is a question, an idea I want to explore with you, is these proteins being produced by the biological system have these remarkable properties, unique properties. So what would happen if we were to produce a new, our bodies were to produce a new protein that has a novel function never before seen? What might that look like? What might that do? And this is not entirely speculative because within every cell of the body, there's a complete genome, the human genome. Now, most of it is silent. It's condensed into what's called a heterochromatin. So it's highly condensed DNA, condenses into these 30 nanometer fibers, which coil up into these solenoids. Probably has pretty important electrical and electromagnetic activity. And then there's a small fraction that is euchromatin, which is transcribing proteins that go and are the workhorses of the cell. They animate you, they do all the things. So what's in that heterochromatin? Well, a large amount of it is repetitive DNA sequences, which that's what's used to generate the DNA fingerprint. So it actually has probably some important function because it's the sequence that is unique only to you. That's about 40% of this heterochromatin. About 50% of it are endogenous retroviruses. So it's DNA that has been inserted, foreign DNA that's been inserted into the genome. And those endogenous retroviruses represent a really unique gene element, the mobile genetic element, transposons and retrotransposons. And then so there's also a certain degree of the heterochromatin that is dormant or deactivated genes. Now, how many dormant genes are in each cell? We don't know, but there has been studies on it, and it's been shown, for instance, most recently in elephants, that there's a deactivated gene, a dormant gene. It was turned on via these retrotransposons, these mobile genetic elements, because they're able to jump into that heterochromatin and turn it into euchromatin. So they activate it. And it was found that this newly activated gene had a novel function in the elephants that suppressed cancer. So the elephants, and this happens in other species as well, and I'm suggesting in us, it happens in us, but they turned on a dormant gene that suppresses cancer. So could this be occurring in us? So these retrotransposons are active in the human brain. And so these are those genetic elements that can jump in and activate a dormant gene, a deactivated gene, reanimate it. There is a hidden region in the brain, a specific region in the brain where neurogenesis is taking place. This is producing new neurons in the brain. You're doing it right now. Well, it's the subventricular zone of the lateral ventricles. Now, what's remarkable is not only is this producing neuronal progenitor cells via neuronal stem cells. But in those cells, the transposons, the L1 retrotransposons are active. They're actively reshaping the genome of each of these new neurons. It's called somatic cell nuclear recombination. So they're producing an entirely new genome each time a neuron is made. And so this is called genetic mosaicism. In this region, you have all these neurons that are being formed, and they have a genome that is different than the genome you were born with, different than the genome than every one of your other cells. Because different regions are turned on, different regions are in other places where they're expressed more strongly, less strongly. Dormant regions are turned on. Now, this mechanism of the brain is one of the ways that it has the remarkable capabilities that it does, because this just gives it infinite diversity and complexity, so infinite information processing capabilities. But what would happen if one of those mobile genetic elements turned on a dormant gene and has a novel function in those neurons? Let's say that it's the norexin, which is this guy here. What if it turns on a dormant allelic form of this? Now all of a sudden in your brain, your neurons are expressing this novel, previously dormant gene, protein product, but it has even greater capabilities of maintaining quantum coherence, of creating entanglement in the neuronal system. Well, if you turned on this gene and it's being expressed now, it can significantly increase the degree to which your awareness is expanded, to which you're plugged into that unified space memory network. And so this would be, in a sense, part of the transition from Homo sapiens to Homo universalis, a more expanded being with greater capabilities via a very physical direct mechanism. So thank you all for listening to my talk. I appreciate it.
A solution, right? To understand the scale relationship that bounds our universe.